Welcome to the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. Every week, you'll hear strategies for building your online service-based business your way. And now, here's your host, veteran freelancer, author, and TEDx speaker, Laura Briggs.
Welcome back to another episode of the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. I am very excited about my guest today. I wish I had discovered her and everything that she is doing much sooner. And that's part of the reason I wanted to have her on the show, is to introduce her to all of you. So today I am talking to Emily Leach. I'd love to hear more of what you'd like to share with my listeners and a little bit about your background to get us started.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, for one. This is amazing. It has been so good to get to know you some over these last couple of months since we, like you said, found each other. And about me, so I've been in the freelance space since 1992, which is kind of a long time in this particular business style.
Yeah, it is.
And it gave me a really amazing life. I was a single mom, and it's tough to go to work all day and then get home and be able to spend time with your child, in my case, and feel like you're really there, present, because you're tired. You've done the thing all day long. So
absolutely,
I kind of stumbled across freelancing, which is, I think, what a lot of people have done. Unless you've been freelancing only for the last few years or so, but if you've been freelancing for 10 years or more, you most likely stumbled into it. And that's what happened with me. And after a couple of years, I realized this is great. I mean, I can be at home. When my son needs something at school, I can go and do it. I can be here when he gets home. I can be here when he leaves for school. And I got to travel and do some volunteer work. It just allowed me the flexibility to still have a life.
That's great. And what kind of freelance projects were you working on back when you first started?
I first started in the engineering space. So I did computer-aided drafting. So I was an engineering designer is what they called us. And so it was actually quite easy in that particular space. The hardest part was computers were really, really expensive. The software was really expensive. Mm-hmm. But it didn't take too long, before you could afford that. But like I said, it did allow me a lot of flexibility and stuff. And so being in that civil environmental space, I got to do what I loved, and I got to migrate into other careers. So I also see this in a lot of freelance business owners, where after about 5 or 10 years of doing a specific task, I guess, if you will, or skill, we kind of want to move on. Not everybody, but a lot. And I think it's a nature of who we are as humans. And I think when you work for somebody, you get that opportunity, usually after about 3 to 5 years, you get an opportunity to advance into or move to a different group within a company. And that's sort of a missing piece in freelancing, unless you make it yourself.
Oh, that's such a great point. I can't tell you how many times this comes up with the freelancers that I coach one-on-one. A lot of them are writers, but it happens across the board. As you mentioned, you do something, you learn everything there is to know about it. You take it about as far as it can go as a freelancer. And then you kind of go, okay, what next? Like, maybe I don't want to write all day. Maybe I don't want to work for this particular group of clients anymore. And sort of that what is next is a real challenge for a lot of people, because it's not necessarily that you're moving on from something because it's unsuccessful. In a lot of cases, it's actually that it's been very successful, but there's that other missing piece component to it. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you evolved from freelancer doing projects for clients into, the different things that you've been doing since then to sort of bring awareness to freelancing and to really build a community around it.
And that also happened by accident too, just so you know. So after a couple of years after I moved to Austin, I was approached by a colleague, to create a group online on Facebook called Austin Freelance Gigs. That's what we ended up calling it. I really enjoyed the concept of helping other fellow freelance peers, if you will, connect them to work. You can't do everything that comes to you, either because you don't have the skill or you don't have the time or the client's not a good match. There's tons of reasons why work continually gets passed off to someone else or passed up. So if you had a network of people that you trusted, you knew well. You knew that when you passed them off, the client was going to be treated well. You may even work out a deal where, you charge a finder's fee for making the introduction. That happens a lot. Then it's so much easier for all of us to get the work that we really love to do. A little off topic, but that's still kind of where everything started. And I started that group. It grew really fast. So to me, I was expecting to start the group in about 3 or 4 months. I'd have 25 people and I had 25 people by lunch. So I was like, wow, okay.
And then by the end there.
Right. By the end of that week, we had 300 people. And in a few months, we had almost 1,000 people. And what I loved about the group was not only that I got to really play in that space that felt like it was going to be wonderful, and it sure enough was, helping freelance business owners find work and connect to each other, is they started to ask each other really awesome questions and have conversations about their business, how to run it. I've always had this concept in my head of our stories matter. And it turns out they really do. When we share those hardships, those ways that we made it through the other side of a challenge, it helps the next person get there faster, even if they only borrow bits and pieces of it.
Absolutely. And there's so much to be gained from other people. A lot of times, some of the best gems that we take away and implement in our own lives or businesses are from other people, whether it's just their unique perspective and their fresh set of eyes on the problem that we're having, or it's something that they've been through in their own experience where they can provide some insight that helps you navigate that on your own.
Exactly. And that right there was sort of the inspiration for everything else that I did. So there was one night, it was actually July 13th. I vaguely remember it. I was sitting in my little chair that I sit in and working. And I said, man, I love this conversation. I was watching a thread, a whole bunch of people in the group commenting back and forth about a question that someone had answered. So I just want to do this with other people in person. I mean, this is great. I love doing it online, but I want to be face to face with a group of people that aren't telling me to go get a job, that aren't dissing me for the life that I'm living or the way that I'm running my business. They're in it with me, and my experience has value to them and their experience has value to me. I was like, I want to go to a freelance conference. So I went online, I started looking everywhere, and it didn't exist in any country.
Wow.
It blew my mind. So I created it.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So how many years now has the Freelance Conference been going on?
We just concluded our 5th year.
That's amazing. And is it always in the same location, or do you kind of move around, or is that something that you make a decision, year by year what it's going to look like?
It has always been in Austin the first 5 years, and we have made the decision to start moving to other cities. So I think
That's
the plan,
awesome.
The plan right now is, we'll spend the next 4 years going to other cities, making it a little bit more accessible to other people as well. And then we'll probably come back to Austin, like for those 5-year reunion kind of things.
I like that. So at the Freelance Conference, like, who is it really for? Like, what person would need to attend that? And sort of like, do you have to be at a certain point in your business to go, oh, this is an absolute fit for me? Or is it kind of designed to bring together freelancers from different experiences and backgrounds?
Well, it's definitely a living event. So it started out with whoever wants to come comes, right? It was literally an idea, and about 100 days later, we had the first one, and then we had 92 people show up. And at the end of it, I was like, this was great. How much fun was that? And everybody went, when's the next one? And I went, what?
That's great.
Oh, this is going to be a thing. Oh, okay. And, so I've definitely had to feel my way through this because I wasn't a conference owner. Before I got out of doing website freelancing, solely freelancing, I was doing website design work and SEO work. And so I was really learning as I went along, and kind of still am. So now the process inside of a freelance conference is for all of those people to be able to attend and get what they need out of it to get to the next level. So we want content that allows people that are thinking about freelancing and maybe a little scared to do it, giving them a way to connect with people that are already successful, people that are semi-successful and working their way up to being successful, and show them that it can be done. We're all just humans like you, and we did it. You can do it, and you're not in it alone. And the people that are further along, like we were talking about earlier, that are making more money already, or they've added products to their company, things like that, to diversify some of their income. They have valuable lessons for those people that are striving to be where they are, and they have lessons and challenges that they need to move past to get to their next level. So the process now is to find all those different layers and be able to pull everybody together so that they can learn from each other where they are, as well as have breakouts that allows people to go and learn more specific skills at the level that they're at and the level they're trying to get to.
That's fascinating. So one of the challenges for a lot of freelancers is we know that we need to get out more often. We need to connect with others who understand what we do, because a lot of us probably still have family members that don't really understand what we do. They know that it's something online. They might not even be convinced that it's stable or real, right? But it's very helpful to network with other freelancers who get it. They get those challenges you have around marketing or client management or invoicing and those types of things. But it's also hard to balance, like, taking time out of your business to go travel to a conference. So can you provide a little bit more information about, what types of workshops and information is presented at the conference, where it's a really you cannot miss type of event for a freelancer looking to plan ahead for their next year?
You bet. And I spend my entire year watching people like yourself, watching people that are solving problems in the freelance space and finding those solutions and proving out those solutions. And then I invite them in to be speakers. So that way we're not just anybody is on the stage, right? It's very much curated. And the workshops, I also do the same. So the thing I love about still having Austin Freelance Gigs here in Austin is we have over 10,000 people in that group. And so it's a really great space to watch the questions that are being answered, so I can see if there's any pivoting happening in what freelance business owners are struggling with, to make sure that I need to bring that content into these workshops. So we make sure that we have technology workshops too. And I love those because one of the other things freelance business owners don't tend to have time to do is research new technology. What's happening and how could I be using it in my business? And why should I be using it in my business? And so that we invite some of those companies to come in and do hands-on workshops versus just a demo, because the demos always work perfectly. and then we research and make sure we try to create a really diverse set of workshops and breakout sessions is what we're really going to focus on, coming up in 2020. The conference is in Denver next year. And so that we have at least 2 or 3 different workshops in each of those. I would say there's about 3 primary levels or categories that people move through in a freelance business. You're either just starting or trying to start. You're in this middle area where you got the starting down and you're really trying to make it simpler or more efficient and make more money without putting more time in. And then you have the next level of people where they've figured out even some of the efficiencies. They've figured out how to run their business. And they're now looking for an increased way to increase income and make it even more efficient and effective so that they can spend more time with family or travel and things like that. So those are the levels of workshops that we're looking for. So if you're out there, I'm going to throw this out there if you don't mind. If you're out there and this is the kind of thing that you teach, I would love to talk to you and interview and see if there's a good fit for what we're looking for.
Yeah. See, there you go. All of you freelancers who are like, I want to dip my toe into coaching or doing public speaking. A lot of times you just have to be proactive and you have to ask and you have to seek out these kinds of opportunities where you can share your expertise with a group of other people. And what I love with what you're doing at the conference is freelancing has become more in demand, which on the one hand is great because a lot of us have plenty of work to do and it's really enjoyable, and more companies are embracing freelancing as a way to outsource their work and get things done. The kind of downside of that is that it's getting more competitive. And one of the things that I think is going to be important for freelancers in the next 5 to 10 years is to be looking at what trends are coming, what new software skills do I need to pick up, what trends are happening in online marketing and communications that I need to be aware of. And if you're like me, at the end of the day, you don't want to sit at your computer anymore and watch a tutorial or a demo or try to, pick up an online course about that newest software thing. It's so effective when you're at a live conference and you can network with other people, you're learning new things, you're trying out software, you're being able to ask the software creators or people who are updating it direct questions about how to use it. And then you come home with tools that can help you up level in your business and stay competitive. And I think that when you choose the right conferences to go to, that 3 or 4 days or however long you're there is not lost time in your business. You often can get so many things done that can help your business move forward in huge ways in the future. So I'm so excited to, be able to showcase a little bit more about what you're doing with this conference, because like you said, there really isn't anyone out there that's doing this. And so we have our little hubs in our cities, or we have our online Facebook groups of people that we interact with who get freelancing, but being able to do that in person is so rare. And it's so exciting to see that that's changing. So where is you said the 2020 conference is in Denver. Do you have dates yet?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I say yes because the dates that I chose was September 13th, 14th, and 15th, but I've just found out that those are also the dates for a really big event, Startup Week in Denver. So that's not something that I want to make people have to choose one or the other. So now I'm reevaluating those dates. And, you have to pay attention to other things that are happening, not only in that particular market, but things that are happening. We get into a lot of religious holidays that time of the year. So I really have to pay attention to those as well. So dates are still coming, unfortunately, at this point. But yes, it will be in Denver or Denver Boulder area, one of those two. I'm looking at both of those cities because there's so many things. I want to be able to start incorporating activities that people can do outside. And and Denver Boulder, that whole area has a lot of that option. And so I just want to make sure that we take advantage of that. And I just want people that when they come to the conference, it's more than just sitting at a table or, in a chair listening to people talk. What's interesting is people tend to buy the ticket based on the sessions, which I get. I would make the same deduction. And, they look at the schedule and will this bring money to me? Will this bring money to me? And it's an absolute accurate way to do it. But it's not the reason they come back. The reason they come back is because of the people that they met, like you were just talking about, the lessons they learned from the people that they met, and just that relationship. It's like they can't wait to get back together and see each other because they typically only see each other that once a year. And that is so much fun to watch.
Yeah. I can imagine, because it always seems that you end up meeting somebody who helps you with somewhere where you're at in your journey. It might not be the place that you expected necessarily, but it's always interesting to be able to meet other people. And there's so much of that conversation that you can just skip over where, when we normally meet someone who has a traditional job or doesn't really understand freelance, we probably spend 10 to 15 minutes just trying to explain what it is we do and how we do it and why we do it, right? And it's so nice when you can just sort of jump to like, okay, what is it that you do? Oh, cool. Do you do it part-time or full-time? Is this, you're doing this alongside a full-time job? It's just great to be able to connect with other people who kind of instantly understand you and where you're at, and might even be able to provide you with some really good feedback or insight about what's potentially next for you as well.
Yeah. And we always make sure that we have like a co-working space area because we get it. You're running a business. Yeah. And sometimes you do just need to go, yes, I'm here. I'm able to make it, but I had to take this conference call, or I really needed to make that meeting happen, that online meeting happen. And so they can go to a space that's separate and make those things happen and still be able to take advantage of the conference.
Perfect. So the conference dates are still a little bit in flux, but it sounds like fall 2020 in Denver. So everyone who's listening, kind of think about that as you're making your 2020 plans of when are you going to step away from your business? What are going to be the professional conferences or events that you attend to help you up level? This is definitely one that you want to keep on your radar. Where can people go to learn more information about you and about the conference? It's
a really, really difficult one. freelanceconference.com.
I love it. Sometimes we don't I can't even buy my own married or maiden name.com. So I always appreciate when people are able to have the real simple website, because not all of us are able to snag that before some domain person wants to charge you 10 grand for whatever that is. So I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you, hear a little bit more about what you have, done to build Freelance Conference up to where it is now, where it's headed in the future. And freelancers, I often encourage this. You always hear from me when I come back from a conference about the things I've been able to take away from it and how valuable it is. So even if you're only able to attend 1 or 2 conferences a year, be really choosy about what you go to, but you can get so much out of it. And having that network of people that you can talk to during and after the conference is instrumental. So thank you so much again, Emily, for the chance to get to know a little bit more